Hi, everybody. Welcome to another week of Pensado's Plays. He's Dave Pensado. I'm Herb Charwick. And if you're in America, you just celebrated Independence Day. Happy 4th of July. And if you're around the world, take your own Independence Day and celebrate it. Make up your own excuse and just set off some fireworks and have a good time. In a second, you'll meet our guest, Blu2th. But first, we want to remind you, in just a couple weeks in Chicago, Dave and I will be there to be the keynote speakers for Imsta Festa. Imsta Festa Chicago. It takes place at SAE, which is the campus downtown. We'll be on at 12 noon. We'll bring some fun and some goodies and a whole bunch of other stuff. You can register to get in because it's free at imsta.org. So go to imsta.org to get in free, and we want to meet you and see you there. And as always, a shout out to the sponsors who make this available and make us available to you guys and make the show available to you guys. They are the Blackbird Academy, Avid, Westlake Pro, Warm Audio, Sonarworks, Groove 3, and Fab Factory. So it's a pleasure to welcome to our desk a guy who goes from No Air with an incredible hit to education. You're going to get a chance to know him. But more importantly, we're going to get to the bottom of why he named himself Blu2th. Welcome to the desk, Erik Blu2th Griggs.
Thank you very much.
How are you,
Honored
man?
to be here.
Good to have you. Good to have you. All right, where did Blu2th come from?
Well, I call myself Blu2th, one, of course, because it's a brand. It's easy to remember, and I like cool stuff. But I essentially do the same thing that we know of Bluetooth to do. It wasn't made for audio, but we usually use it to make radio waves into audio. And so I'm a transducer. I basically do the same thing. I take life, I take stuff you can't see, and I organize it into something that you can hear.
And you spell it in the cool way. Spell it.
And you got to spell it.
You got to spell it in the cool way. How do you spell yours?
BLU2TH.
There you go.
That's cool as hell.
Blu2th. So,
Originality.
so you've had this amazing kind of arc from the beginning to end, multi-instrumentalist, which we'll get to, and so on and so forth. And then you do this long curve, and you actually have the big hit. Right? Because a lot of people do the same arc and don't get to the big hit, right?
Yeah.
So let's start at the beginning of the arc.
Okay.
From where and what got you in?
Ooh, okay. Born in Cleveland, Ohio, raised in St. Louis
Cavs
and
fan?
Camden, New Jersey. I follow no sports.
Okay.
I'm a very strange person in that way.
No, that's fine.
I guess I was busy playing, and writing. But then I went to Huntsville, Alabama, to go to school at a college called Oakwood College, and then I stayed there for about 9
I think that's
years.
where Brian went to school.
Brian McKnight?
Yeah.
He did.
Yeah, right.
I went there and stayed for 9 years, and then I just up and bounced and moved to California in 2005. And that began the industry arc. Before that, what Huntsville was an incubator for me.
Yep.
I'm self-motivated enough that I'll get better in an environment that's not, you need to get better all the time. That's LA, right? But I didn't want to be in LA when I was being incubated, becoming whatever I was going to be and learning.
You were training for LA.
Yeah, absolutely. I only played piano till I got there. And I decided, it's a great place to just hone my skills. I got my first, what I call a multi-$100 studio, and recorded local acts, hip hop and gospel mostly. I'm in Alabama, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I used those to make my mistakes, and basically got paid to go to school.
Yep.
I didn't get paid much, but it's Huntsville, Alabama.
Absolutely.
I had a 2-bedroom apartment that was really nice for $440 a month.
Exactly.
So I could do a track for anybody and make rent.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Anybody.
One song and you were good.
Anybody for the whole month, once.
Yep.
So I used that to make myself into something that I would consider ready to move to in LA. And then one day I just left.
And then once you got to LA, what were the steps that made you know it was moving forward?
Well, it was kind of...
Was it co-writing with people?
It was playing guitar. There were a few reasons for that. And looking back, sometimes hindsight being 20/20 is a good thing because I can see why it worked. But I came here with a guitar because guitars are portable, right? Come with an 88 key
overhead.
Yamaha C7 on your back.
Yeah,
so I came with a Strat, the most versatile guitar I had, brought that one and just played everywhere that would have me play. And I didn't even mention anything else that I do. It wasn't my first instrument even. It wasn't what I came here to do. I didn't really come here to play guitar, but playing guitar got me in front of the people I needed to know. So I played every little, from Cozy's, which was open then, which now isn't open anymore, man. We all used to play at Cozy's, to everywhere. And people knew me as that, the new guy in town on guitar. And then when I would go to the studio or I would meet him somewhere else, they'd be like, oh man, I wish we had a keyboard player, man. I got this guitarist here. But I'd be like,
bingo, got somebody.
They'd be like, you play guitar? I mean, you play keyboard too? I'd be like, I play guitar too. And they'd be like, what?
Right.
Keyboard's my first instrument. So they'd be like, oh, okay, cool. So then it would go from there to bass, and then it would go from, that's how, when the credits roll on Dreamgirls, right, I'm playing everything but the drums until the strings come in, which were from a whole different session in a whole different time. They just slapped it on there and it worked. But that's what happened in that session. I came to play piano. I had played piano on a whole lot of Dreamgirls stuff. This was the very last session. I'm not even in the credits for bass, although I played the bass, they'd written the credits already. So they were like, you want to play the keyboard parts? I said, yeah. So I played the keyboard parts. It was like, you play bass too, huh? I just had a bass. It went that fast. So I ended up playing bass too.
But you also have your own special effects and sound design, which I appreciate. It does.
That does help.
It gives emphasis to things. Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
You remind me of Babyface. You worked with him.
I have worked extensively with Babyface.
That's why you look like him.
Well, you know what? I can't be mad. You know, he still looks, 28 right now?
Yeah, I know. And Kevon.
Yeah, Kevon too, yeah.
So was the Dreamgirls space where you interacted with Harvey Mason Jr.?
Yeah, even before that, because when I first got to California, I was playing guitar. I'll be traced back to there. Playing guitar for a guy named Bobby Newt. And he, one day, I ended up, in about 2 weeks, I went from being his guitarist to being his musical director. And then he was like, there's some people who need to know who you are. So then he took me to the Edmonds Tower, which is where the Underdogs were. And I met Damon first. And I, saw this big, huge piano that I later played all over the Dreamgirls soundtrack. And I wanted to see what it sounded like, so I was like, oh man, this thing is nice. So I just went down and played it, and Damon went crazy. He still makes me play that song for everyone that he introduces to me first. I was just, playing, but he liked it that much. So eventually I ended up being there, at the Underdogs, which is where I did No Air, and the Dreamgirls soundtrack, and a few other things, Tyrese, and So that was my beginnings.
Tyrese used to have an office in the building.
Yeah, he was the second floor, we were the third floor.
Yeah. Because that's my original office.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, before it was the Edmonds Tower, it was the Solar Records building.
Yes, it was Solar, yeah.
I broke ground on that.
He bought
building.
it from Dickie, yeah.
There's a picture of all of us breaking ground and
Whoa.
Art up there back in the day. Now that
building has so much history.
It's ridiculous.
It's still making history now. Now it's Diane Warren.
It's Diane Warren's building. Atlantic's before that.
Yeah.
It's gone through a lot. So the years of this growth, No Air was in what year? 2014?
The end of 2007.
End of 2017?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. End of 2007.
2007, yeah.
And was the biggest record in the world in 2008.
Yeah, it was just massive.
Yeah.
That was one of my favorite records.
Thank you.
I think a guy named E-Man was on that too. Wasn't he on that? But a lot of my friends were on that record too.
James Fauntleroy, Harvey,
that was a great record.
Yeah, thank you.
The co-writers with you on No Air were
James Fauntleroy, Little Steve, we call him Steve Russell from Troop.
Wow.
He wrote the B section.
What's he doing now?
He's singing with Troop actually right now. A lot of those groups there's a resurgence to that. Guy just came off tour.
Portraits out.
Yeah, it's kind of cool because it's come back around and that real music is coming back.
When you're starting a song, do you start with an idea, a lyric, a chord change, a new instrument, a synthesizer you bought yesterday?
Right, could be. You know what? A lot of people ask me that, and it's really kind of like a starfish. Like people tell me, I don't know if this is true or not, but it's a good analogy. If you cut a starfish, you cut their legs off, it'll grow back from wherever you cut it. So that's kind of what it is for me. A song can start from any place. I can think of a concept, I can think of a lyric and build a concept around that lyric. I can think of just a a bass lick or a keyboard lick. That's the cool thing about doing many things. You can find your inspiration from different places. What it feels like from the guitar lick might influence what I write about, because that makes me feel a certain way, and vice versa.
Right.
But it doesn't matter which is the first. It can come from anywhere.
Do you like doing the top line yourself, or?
I like doing everything. I like collabing with people and them doing the top line. I like doing top line now because I get to do it less.
Okay.
I think I gravitate a lot toward the thing I don't do as often. and everybody always has me play. So, you know, I feel like sometimes the way that I play overshadows my writing, you know, because I consider myself a songwriter first.
Okay.
So, you know, to present myself as, you know, I play all these instruments, that's cool, but it's kind of like presenting Batman as a grappling hookist. You know, it's like, he's a vigilante hero. He just happens to use a grappling hook sometimes to do what he's got to do.
Right.
It's a tool.
It's a
All
tool.
these instruments are tools to get songs out there.
Right.
Their only purpose is to make records what they're supposed to be. So,
Did you, along the way of the success, have to sort of grapple with, now that you said grappling hook,
Right, there it
it's
is.
in my head.
I do have to grapple.
Now, so did you have to grapple with the team concept? Am I going to have a manager? Am I going to have a publisher?
Oh,
Am I
man,
going to
yeah.
have a, because people don't realize how strenuous that can be and going through that process. Did it take you a while? How'd you do it?
Well, I mean, look, I'm unmanaged as we speak. So it's been a minute. I've gone through a couple managers, and I think what I find is it's kind of difficult to service me everywhere I can go. And
You have so many
it's so
gears.
easy to be pigeonholed, and the industry really wants to do that. It's like the first thing they see you do is what
That's
you do.
what you do. Yeah.
And if you do anything else, you really got to convince them, no, you do this so well, there's no way you
Right.
can do that. It's just
Right.
not even possible. I'm going to call a guy to do that.
Right.
But if you saw me do that first, you'd be doing the same thing over here. So, you know, it's
Yeah, that's so true.
finding that blend.
Same with publishers and so on and so forth. Did you?
Yeah, I've been in a publishing deal. I'm not now, also, with BMG. And it's cool having a publisher because they would send me places. One thing I liked about BMG specifically is the places they would send me to write. You wouldn't just look at me and say, let me send him there. You know, I like that because I like to write in Nashville. I like to write country songs.
Absolutely.
I love to write country songs. I was sent to Berlin to make jazz with, you know, Till Bronner, the trumpet
Nice.
player, and I wrote lyric and melody there. And, you know, he's a trumpet player, he's got a band. He produced it after I left, and then they ended up doing strings in the Capitol building. And I was like, whoa, that's
Wow.
like where Frank Sinatra did their strings, they're doing it to
cool
my
is
song.
that? Wow.
But, you know, that kind of stuff is cool. And it's just going to Nashville to write, going to Sweden to write pop, going to Alabama to write gospel, going out here. Those type of experiences, immersing yourself in the culture of what you're writing
They grow
makes
you.
you
Yeah, they grow.
yeah, you grow.
Absolutely.
You mentioned gospel. If you care to, mention to our audience how unique the chord changes are in gospel and the voicing and how unique the timing and the rhythm is. And
Man.
it's like another planet musically, but it just seems like just about everything grew out of gospel at some time in some way.
Yeah, it has some spiritual nature to it, or some component of rising above conflict. You know, blues, jazz, all that stuff came from there. And they say that jazz is the only indigenous American music. You know, but they all came from the same place. They all came from, I only got this much to do this with.
Yeah.
So what can I do with this? And then you improvise, which is a jazz term, right? You improvise and you make it. In gospel, it's a place musically where it's kind of no bounds. Like you really, as a musician, as a keyboard player, as a guitarist, like every lick you practiced last night, you can use it. Like they don't stop you. They're like, oh, that was crazy, do it again. You know, gospel has it's not a demographic where they wouldn't appreciate it, so it doesn't confine you so much as a musician. Sometimes I think it goes a little over the top because the message is overshadowed by how much musically you're doing.
Yeah.
You can't even really zero in on the message. which it's called gospel music, right? So that is what it's about, not chord changes. But sometimes judicious chord changes can accentuate that message.
Yeah,
and when
true.
it does, you can do it.
The greats do it pretty well.
Yeah.
Well, there's not a lot of churches that have a section called praise and worship where people just go off for an hour before church starts.
Off. Yeah.
Just go off.
Yeah.
Just
Or
musically.
in, as they would call it.
Yeah, they go in. They go in. Yeah, that's a better.
Right, go
it's
in.
more Jesus like to
Right,
say
right.
going in than going off.
Ooh, I really went in today.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. The other thing, and we have some friends who are doing some of the stuff, similar friends. How important is education? Where is your perspective on education? Is there stuff that you're doing in education? Give us your perspective.
Well, the perspective comes from a philosophy that I don't necessarily believe in myself, full stop. Like, people just tell people things and they don't go to the part that really has the meat in it. So it's easy to go off half-cocked. Like I said, I was incubated for a long time. I came here at 27. Most people come here at 17. And they got to learn the business while they learn the music. That's hard. It's hard enough already,
Yeah.
That's why people go to college and then become doctors. Even if you have a residency, you're still learning. And you're still in the mode of learning while you're doing that. And then
Yes.
somebody shoots you off into a hospital and you're like, okay, I'm ready. You know? We should have that feeling too. But we have to get it for ourselves. So that's what I did. I don't believe in myself. I believe in what's in me. I believe in what I've cultivated and ingested into myself so that I can offer it to a situation. You don't really hire me per se. You hire what I can do.
That incubation period that you talked about, wouldn't education slot into there somewhere?
Well, that's all it is.
Okay.
That
But formal
incubation period is
education.
all about, whether it's formal or whether, because, I'm self-taught.
Yeah.
So that's like even my business, Blu2th University, that is a double entendre. Like, I'm always writing. So
Tell us about that a little bit.
Blu2th University is my online platform that I've just created and launched that is for the purpose of disseminating information on not only the nuts and bolts of making music, but how to make it in music, that kind of thing too. So songwriting, playing, tips and tricks, product reviews, all that kind of stuff. And it's a YouTube page. It's Blu2thuniversity.com. Will actually lead you to the YouTube page. But it's called Blu2th University for two reasons. One, because it's mine, of course, and it's my university. But two, because I'm not giving you something for just you to learn from. I'm actually letting you in on how I taught myself. So if you see me and you want to be able to do the things that I do, I'll tell you point blank how I did it. This is the information that I grabbed a hold of, and this is what I did to be able to do that. It's my university that I put myself through that I'm offering to you.
Fascinating. Oh, go ahead.
Not only are you teaching people what to do, you're teaching them how to learn what to do.
Yeah. Yeah, because
I guess
it's
that's the old fish, or teach them how to fish, kind of thing.
Yeah, because a lot of people are halted by the fact that you can actually never be fully prepared for a thing, right? It's actually not really possible because you have to know the future.
That's right. That's right.
So with that being said, people can always say, I'm not ready. No matter how ready you are. You can always say, there's something I can do to be more ready for that thing. But there will always be that. So you have to pick a time. It's like the art of practicing. That's another thing I'll teach on there, because that's something nobody really teaches.
It is an art, by the way.
Yeah, when do you stop practicing? Is a decision you have to make at a certain point. Well, the point for me is I don't practice until I feel like it's being canned now. Now the only decisions I can make are the ones I practiced, so I'm locked into that. And if I have a thought on stage and I want to go out of that, now I'm confused between what I practiced. And I practice the concept and play around within it until I have enough options that I know what I'm going to think will work, and then I step away. And that, I've found, has been the best way to prepare for a performance, is not to be too prepared.
Can't be overly prepared.
That's
So, yeah.
that's true.
Yeah,
I didn't play drums when I got to California, but I got on the plane. I wasn't like, but I don't play drums yet.
Right. Right.
There's more to do.
And most performers, things I've read, before they go on stage, and I know to the degree that we do it here at the show, There's really 2 points. One is you're going to have a better outing if you are super nervous and on edge before you go out. Because that's your process preparing yourself. If you're not, if you're funny, if you're just chilling, you're going to go out and flop because you think you got it.
Right.
So I've noticed that just in our endeavors. And then the other part that I'm always amazed at is that we now live in a sharing economy. And so like your sharing of yourself, which I think is also part of the secret of the success of our show, is that we just told everything.
Right.
And then had people come on and made them tell it and shared it and so on and so forth.
No secrets.
And people couldn't find that, but people are still amazed that it can be that simple.
Right.
No, you got to give it. You can't hold it.
Right.
That's not helping you or anybody else, correct?
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't see myself as a jar so much as a conduit. So I'm open at both ends. It's important to me to be accessible to the regular person, as if that exists, you know. And also work with legends like Dre or Babyface. You know, if I'm writing with Babyface, there's people who don't have the opportunity to be validated in that place. They might be as good as me, but they don't have that place where they can write that will say, no, I'm sweet at this. I'm nice. You know, and that type of confidence comes from being in it.
Yep.
But I can offer them, this is what I learned from Babyface last night. And it's more powerful for them. So that's why I have to be open at both ends. I got to work with the legends, and I got to work with the new guys that want to become, you know, legends. And I sit somewhere in the middle, trying to move this way.
Which is one of the blessings of actually getting there, because you get the opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
It's hard to define that for somebody else if they don't get to do it. And it's a marker for us when we, oh man, I was in this presence, or I been invited to that session, or somebody sees me as a valuable asset. We're talking to kids, I tell them all the time, I was just speaking to an Ohio University class or at the 1500 Sound Academy, that this is a privilege. It's a privilege to be a steward of pop culture. And you can't take that lightly. You can't be silly about that all the time, because for somebody else it's do or die, and your decision making counts, and your decision making is measured in hits or not hits. It's measured in successes. It doesn't always equate to your work being great. But there's a measuring system that's the difference between you doing good work and doing successful work. And there's a big distinction there. Now that you're not, you focus your attention on other things, which I admire, but now you got to play a little sports game, which we call batter's box. So now the good part is you don't have to be an athlete to do it.
I'm not saying I'm not athletic.
I didn't say that.
I'm just saying
I can see you absolutely. You don't have to follow sports. And this really is sharing of yourself. So, so this works. All right, here we go. Batter's box, sir.
Inspiration.
George Duke.
Doom, doom, doom.
Sir Duke.
Boom, boom,
Yeah.
Tempo.
Ba-doom, ba-doom. Oh, sorry. Back to soundtrack.
Andante.
Loops.
Make it easier.
Chords.
Support.
Bass.
Support.
DAWs.
Specialize.
Vocals.
Important.
Reverb.
Use more than one.
Ooh. Horns. Use more than one.
Energy. Right. Energy.
Okay. And tell me a cheap instrument or a cheap plug-in or something, or piece of gear that you used on a song that turned out to be a high-profile song.
One of those egg shakers.
Oh, the little
They're in the shape of an egg, and they got something, beans in them or something.
I think they got 410 buckshot in them.
Okay.
Those are ones.
Now I can make one.
Yeah, absolutely.
But why when they're 50
Did I win,
cents?
Herb? Did I win?
I don't think you won because he
was too good.
Was bat speed
I can see.
was very high.
He won.
What plugins do you like? Is there any things that?
Plugins. I like sometimes I forget the name of plugins because I know what they look like in the list. And I just go to them and I forget.
Right.
There's I think it's RC48 reverb that Native Instruments makes. And I love that verb.
Yellow.
I think there's a red one and a blue one. The red one is 24 and the blue one is 48. They're like those little boxes that used to sit.
Yeah, everything they make is good.
Yeah, I love their stuff. Superior drummer I like to use with my V drum kit. That's my favorite, you know. It's either that or Steven Slate drums, depending on the sound that I want to get.
Yeah.
And I endorse Steven Slate. He makes some really cool stuff too. Man, there's so many plugins. You know, Serato. See, I forgot that it's Serato, but it's the sampler. Maybe it's called Serato Sampler. I'll find out after the show. But yeah, that's good.
But as it relates to software, as you're sharing with us, it's key that you use the technology doesn't use you.
Yeah.
It's an important point.
Yes. Well, at the end of the day, we're trying to execute an idea that existed before any of the stuff that we have at our disposal right now.
Right.
Right. The idea is being executed by this stuff, but this stuff is only there for that purpose. So sometimes you kind of go, when you're writing, you have to go forward in time mentally to what can be done with it. And, you know, I'm thinking when I hit a snare, sometimes when I hear a snare, I'm not thinking about what it sounds like now.
Right.
I'm thinking about what it's going to sound like when I throw this EQ and that compressor, and it's got the bass is too long, but when I compress it a certain way, it's going to make this curve and it's going to be perfect. You know, I'm thinking ahead then, but then when you're mixing or, you know, in the post-production, you're thinking behind you, like what was the idea? What was the intention of this? A lot of times I do something, somebody's mixing and say, well, what did you intend for this guitar lick to do, and what did you intend for it to sound like? And then I tell them, and they're like, oh, I know what to do with it. So you're thinking, it's like sight reading on piano too, like you're playing, but you're looking ahead, and you're playing what you just saw, because there's no way you can look at what you're doing the whole time that you're going through the thing.
Where can people find Blu2th University?
Well, on Blu2th University is on YouTube. That's BLU2TH University.com. That leads you to the YouTube channel. And my IG is Blu2th, BLU2TH. Find me there. That's where I'm most active. So if you find me in those two places, you got it.
Cool, man. Thanks for coming and being
Thanks
patient.
for having me. Such an honor to be here.
Listen,
Such an honor to be here.
glad that you care about it. Hope it works for you. And you're
Absolutely.
a fan of the show. How long have you watched the show? For a
Oh
while?
man, I've watched a bunch of snippets of all kinds of shows.
Gotcha.
From mixers to, I watched the one with Harvey Mason. I watched the one with Young Guru. I watched,
Yeah.
So it's great to see my colleagues, you know,
Yeah. Absolutely.
really putting information out there as if it's not a secret.
Oh, it's great to have him. It's been amazing. DP, take us home.
Cool. I want to get your opinion on this. I met Paul McCartney like a million years ago, and he said that he tries to always compose, create, and play from his heart. When he can't and gets stumped, he goes to things he ripped off of records.
Right.
When that doesn't work, he's always trying to get back to his heart. But when that doesn't work, going to records and playing things you know, you go to your education.
Yeah.
And your education always saves you, and you can go down that vein a little bit, but always trying to get back to your heart. And so it's like da 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 da, you know, like that. And I think there's a lot of truth to that. Your opinion?
Absolutely. I think the idea of education is to give arms to your heart. There's things in there that are itching to get out, but they can't get out unless they have ways to get out. That's what we learn. We learn how to fix the disconnect between what I'm thinking and what my hands can actually do. We connect that together, and now we can execute it. That's the beauty of education.
When it happens, nothing's better on earth, is it?
Oh man, the feeling of that is now I can do something I couldn't do 5 minutes ago, an hour ago, a day ago. That's the best feeling ever. And we get to give that to people as educators, which is amazing.
Well, you heard it here. We'll see you next week.
Peace.